What's really jumping out at you? What do you think the audience is most interested in?
So in the last 2 years, we've consistently seen upwards of 80% of businesses are saying that, we still are experiencing skilled shortages. And, we've talked about this before, Ryan, in terms of, how much our population has grown even in the last year. And yet we're still, as of, the report that we released on January 29th, we're still seeing those incredible shortages across the board.
4 out of 5 businesses reporting skill shortages. How would that stack up against like 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago?
I think, it's cyclical in Alberta. So because we're back into kind of that, growth phase, we're kind of, from an economic perspective, we're pretty stable. And, from the Canadian perspective, Alberta has still got a pretty good economy and a pretty good outlook for 2024. I think, we go through ebbs and flows just like Alberta does always. I think that what's really interesting, though, in all of this is some of the work that we do, and we did, hosted us for a fantastic panel a couple of weeks ago, Ryan, on our talent development task force. But the thing that's really interesting to us is that out of that number that are reporting that they're having shortages, only 13% of those are actually offering work integrated learning opportunities for students coming out of post-secondary. And so that's where that gap really is, how can we create that pipeline for businesses? How do we create that opportunity for students to get into those roles earlier on, and really make sure that we're filling those gaps that our employers need? And a lot of that can be attributed to, it's not easy taking on a student, let's face it. A lot of that can be attributed to, lack of mentorship, the lack of, just the time commitment it takes to train up a student that potentially is only going to be there for 4 months out of the year. I think the really incredible piece to this, though, is that if you have that student in the first year or the second year and you're able to have them come back year over year, by the end of the fourth year, you've got, a dedicated employee that's probably very well versed in your operations and can be a very high level contributing member of your talent.
Workplace integrated learning is almost not a fad, or it's not a cherry on top. Mm-hmm. It's like an expected platform of how young people and the talent of the future is expected to be prepared to hit the ground running.
Those emotional intelligence skills that are what's lacking. We've got these incredibly bright students coming out of our post-secondary institutions. Unfortunately, they just don't have the skills to actually communicate in an effective way, or, they haven't necessarily been trained, what is proper sales techniques, or what is a sales cycle, and all of those types of things that are so important to our businesses.
What are the implications of what we're understanding from these numbers on somebody that could be 30 years old, could be 40, could be 55 years old? They've got a ton of experience. What's the key message for those Albertans?
Provincially, from the regulatory perspective, businesses also need to be willing to recognize those credentials, and the licensing bodies need to. And so how can we create some micro credentials in some of these specialties and some of these areas where we're really, really needing help?
You steering the ship at Alberta Chambers of Commerce, how are you approaching Budget 24? Going
into 2024, oil is going to be pretty stagnant. And so for the province of Alberta, we know what that means. It means that we need to be really fiscally responsible. I believe they're saying it's going to, kind of run around $72 a barrel going into 2024 and staying, pretty flat. So with that in mind, we do know that, Alberta still, our fiscal outlook is really, really strong still. When you look at the rest of Canada, there's a lot of optimism and a lot of different factors at play that make us look, very, very promising in terms of what 2024 is going to be. I think, though, when you realize the volatility of oil and how that can impact a budget, that really needs to be taken into account. And so we really will be calling on the province to do the things that we're always saying, be fiscally prudent, make sure that you're using any surpluses to pay down debt and put into savings for future. Our debt servicing is more dollars than whole ministries, some of the whole ministry's budget for. So when you think about that, if we could, eliminate that debt servicing and really start freeing up some of those dollars to provide all of the things that we need for Alberta as we're growing, all of the social programs that we need, education, healthcare, if we could look at that in terms of a strategy to reducing, the debt and freeing up those dollars, I think that would be really important. And that's one of the things that we're calling on the province to do.
You're advocating specifically about eliminating the insurance premium tax. Can you take us into this? Everybody hears insurance premiums and it hits them.
ACC has been advocating about the insurance premium tax for about 4 years now. So long before my time with the organization, we've been, banging this drum, and it's really exciting that our colleagues at IBC and CFIB are jumping on and doing the same thing, because it really is one of those hidden taxes that if you're unaware of it, you're paying it, and it's not really paying dividends back out to us as taxpayers. Really, essentially, as insurance goes up, the insurance premium tax goes up. And of course, it's the lowest value. That's the only thing I could say for our tax dollars in terms of what gets funneled back into Alberta. So really, one of the things that we've been advocating on behalf of for 4 years is just immediately remove it on life, accident, and sickness insurance. We really want to take a look at private corps and property and casualty, and ensuring that our tax does not exceed the lowest tax rate in other provinces. And we really want to see that tax indexed as well to premiums, so it doesn't inflate over the course of time. So we're really excited. Our colleagues are jumping into the boat with us, and we're all rowing it, because we really need to make some noise about this one. And, in all fairness, the province is looking at insurance reforms as part of the Taxpayers Fairness Act. So, we've been talking to anybody who listened to us that, this is something that really needs to be paid attention to, and in a way that can really help reduce some burden on our businesses.
I'm looking stateside, and I see that a couple of the U.S. is basically, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that the U.S. is like pressing pause on approval of all new LNG projects, like liquid natural gas projects. This could create a second chance, so to speak, for Canada to be a real global player when it comes to LNG.
We would just urge, governments at all levels this is going to be a real collaborative effort. It's going to be a collaboration between all levels of government. It's going to be a collaboration with our Indigenous partners. It's going to be a collaboration with business and industry. And I can't stress enough how much that, that's really where we're going to see the best outcomes, and where we really are going to be able to provide what the world needs. And Alberta has a lot of that to provide, and a lot of opportunity in that conversation. So right now is the time to capitalize. I mean, our neighbors to the States are not exporting, and we can, and we have the resources, and we have the capacity, we have the skills, and we have the technology. Everything's in place. We just need to, like I said, I cannot stress enough how much we need to collaborate. We do have another hiring intentions survey research out in the field right now with our CTA research that we're doing. And then just heads up about Political Action Day coming up on March 14th. We're excited you're going to come be on our media panel for that event. Ticket sales are going through the roof, so I would encourage anybody who is interested in attending that event. We have the premier will be there to bring an economic outlook, as well as to MC all of the questions from the audience with the ministers and the MLAs. And then just finally, the Canadian Business Awards of Distinction are coming up on June 20th, but really important to note that nominations opened and are open till March 6th. So we would just really encourage anybody who knows a wonderful business in your community or in your province, please nominate them. We love to recognize them. We love to celebrate the wonderful and amazing things that our businesses are doing in the province.